Last week, we talked about values and what is a ministry pipeline. Values is defined as the regard that something is held to deserve or the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. While ministry pipeline helps us to identify where people take necessary steps to help them move forward. The value in understanding and developing pipeline has two major benefits. First, it allows the volunteer to see what is next and have a path that they can follow and move towards to. Second, is allowing leadership to effectively and properly assess where their volunteers are in the pipeline. So remember this. When church leadership can clearly state the value of the ministry and its particular role in the pipeline, it builds credibility. Again, when church leadership can clearly state the value of the ministry and its particular role in the pipeline, it builds credibility. So moving forward, today we will study about vision versus culture and how does our vision influences our culture inside our church and our community we are serving. But first, let's identify or define some English term to remember. The first word is culture. It defines as the arts and other manifestations of human intellectual achievement regarded collectively, or the customs, arts, social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation, people, or other social group. Example of a culture is the language. Next is the word vision. It defines as the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination or wisdom. Lesson number two, we will study and learn what is the difference between vision and culture. How does our vision shape our culture? And why does our vision lead people to spiritual and leadership development? So, first thing is programs versus culture. Now, culture is powerful. Culture always exists. Culture shifts or it changes. It is important that the culture of a church be led by the pastor and his vision for the church. So many churches have failed at some point because it didn't fit the existing culture already in place. Culture stems directly from leadership, as we mentioned from the lesson one. The same place where values and vision comes from. For example, if the church leadership values music or band or singing praise and worship, then naturally the church will draw from within its rank, crowd, and community alike minded and like cultured people who will want to participate in the music ministry. Now, I have some example of programs in our church, such as drama or sports ministry, discipleship ministry, small groups as usual, or Bible study, um, community outreach programs such as medical and dental missions, disaster relief, or like kids ministry. So most of the time, the has churches have habit of getting into a style or like in they're trying to put or take the trending things from other churches and try it within their church or once in a seminar or a conference they try to instantly things that they found the answer for all the programs in their church. They take this new said program or ministry and place it into their existing system as add-on or something additional to their programs, hoping that they see both instant success and long-term growth. Now, the problem is this type of program-based ministries is the emphasis and time, energy, and resources are poured into a program rather than a system. So it's better for us to have a system rather than a program. Now, the culture of a church and leadership is not obtained by faith. It is developed from within. So culture is not born into the organization, it is intentionally lived out. Now, I have example of a book named Deep and Wide, written by Andy Stanley, that says, if you want a church of biblically educated believers, just teach the Bible, what the Bible says. Now, if you want to make a difference in your community and possibly the world, give people handles, next steps, and specific applications. Now, you have to challenge the church to do something. As we have seen, it's not safe to assume that people automatically know what to do with what they have taught. They need specific direction. Now, this is hard because it requires an extra step in preparation. But this is how you grow people. Now, to develop culture, or in order to develop culture of leadership, the leadership must engage everyone in the process. This will include the deacons, the elders, the staff, and even the pastoral team. So giving material or a book to the church at large amount is not enough. So you have to develop culture and more than a new program so that you can be intentional as it is part of a culture or a life inside the church. Next point, vision and culture, and how does culture is shaped by vision. So when a church is led by a powerful vision, then naturally the followers as well as other leaders find themselves being willing to do just about anything to achieve that vision. In many cases, people will go out without recognition or pay just to help to achieve the vision. What the Bible says about vision says in Proverbs 29, verse 18, where there is no vision, the people will perish. Culture for many churches, organizations, and individuals is really difficult to evaluate and quantify. When the leadership team takes the time to identify and what they want to see repeatedly for generations after, then they have identified their desired culture. Culture is based on values, vision, and a determined focus to achieve that vision. Vision, values, and culture are passed into the next level or next generation of volunteers and leaders. Now, I have an example of a picture of a passing the baton. The passing of the baton is the object that you see in color that's color blue. So the person behind the person getting the baton should be athletically know how to pass the object or the baton. It's like you're passing the culture. You should passing the culture to the next generation with the exact values and vision that can also be passed by the generation to the next generation of volunteers and leaders. Again, it says in Proverbs chapter 29 verse 18, where there is no vision, the people perish. Now, I will ask you a question about this verse. Where there is no vision, the people perish. When you don't have anything planned before, how are you going to lead people? How are you going to lead your church? So, by answering this question, what are or what is your vision to your life, in your life? And how are you going to use this to lead people to Christ? So, I have here a discussion question that you can ask yourself or ask another person for you to have an idea. If you were to ask 20 people in your church or in your congregation, what is the strongest cultural norm in your church, and what would they say? What would you want them to say? For example, in my church, the strongest culture is having a discipleship. So this is actually something that I really want to hear from anyone in my church, that they wanted to get involved in a discipleship, because my church believed that discipleship is a step for a believer to grow in his relationship to Jesus. When someone finds themselves at a very busy time in their life, like school, final projects, or required overtime at work travel, or family obligations, the usual thing that is dropped first is the church or your commitment at the church. When values and culture are based on discipleship, community groups, or small groups, or Bible study, and the Sunday celebration service, then it will make sense to someone. So when the culture is based on this, people who have a scheduled conflict don't miss out on a very personal, small group based spiritual growth. Each small group uses the weekend's topic as their basis for discussion that week. This essentially enables the pastor to continue his influence and teaching throughout the week. Those who cannot make it to their small groups then still have another opportunity to see spiritual growth in their very personal relationship with their discipler, or if they're involved in discipleship, and ultimately grow themselves and their personal walk with the Lord. So for your quiz, you're going to answer all the questions and you will submit it in English. So you will answer questions 1 and 2. Send it via email or via Telegram, or just message me if you have any question. Don't forget to include your complete name. Thank you. Question number 1. Would you notice if 3 people didn't show up for church this weekend? Could you list everyone that was absent last week? Your answer should be yes or no, but you have to follow up your answer with a backup answer. Number 2. What would you do if 3 people didn't show up for your small group? What are the steps that you're going to ask, or how are you going to message them? Just tell me your idea on how you will contact someone who is absent from your small group or Bible study or life group or cell group.